son zamanlarda bizim de ihtiyaç duyduğumuz uluslararası deneyimlerden beslenerek kendimizi geliştirmek istediğimiz bir alan olduğunu ifade edeyim. Sağ olsun bu konuda hem Cahit Bey hem Nuray Hanım katkı koydular. Bunu organizasyonunu sağladılar. Ben buradan her iki arkadaşımızı ve MTA Genel Müdürlüğü'ne, oradan katılan arkadaşlarımıza teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Umut ediyorum bugünkü toplantı ülkemizde de çevre jeolojisinin gelişmesine vesile olur. Çünkü çok sayıda eksikliğimiz olduğunu hepimiz biliyoruz. Eksikliklerimizin farkındayız. Bugün tıbbi jeolojik fizik haritalarından tutun da çevre jeokimyasına kadar işte chat raporlarının içerisindeki yalan yanlış yapılan değerlendirmelerden tutun da yeraltı sularına kadar birçok alanda aslında bu konunun dünyada hızla gelişmekte olduğunu biliyoruz. Arzu ettiğimiz gelişmenin ülkemize de yansımasını arzu ediyoruz. Bu toplantının temel amacı da uluslararası deneyimleri Türkiye'ye aktarmak olduğunu belirtmek isterim. Ben bu vesileyle bütün katılımcı hocalarımıza, arkadaşlarımıza bir kez daha teşekkür ediyorum. Hocam burada MTA adına da arkadaşlar var. Bir kısa görev değişikliği oldu. Haşim Bey burada, Cahit Bey burada. Benim gördüğüm başka arkadaşlar var da ben göremiyorsam onlardan da özür diliyorum. Eğer kendileri MTA adına bir şey ifade etmek istiyorlarsa söz hakkını kullanabilirler. Gerçi kullanmayacaklarını ifade etmişlerdi ama ben yine de bir eksiklik olmasını arzu etmem bu toplantı için.
Cahit Bey var mı söylemek istediğiniz bir şey? Buyurun ya da kim MTA'dan konuşmak istiyorsa. Sesiniz kapalı. Açarsanız Cahit Bey.
Biz de Sayın Başkan'a teşekkür ediyoruz bu konudaki hassasiyetleri için. Çok uzun bir konuşma yapmak istemiyorum tabii. Stefano'ya da söz verelim. Türkçe bir şeyler söylüyorlar ama bunlar ne söylüyorlar diyordur orada şimdi. İnşallah bunlar iyi birer başlangıç olur. Teşekkür ederim.
Biz teşekkür ediyoruz. Okay, the opening speeches, we finished the opening speeches. I would like to thank you, thank Dr. Albanese for accepting our invitation for tonight. And also, I would like to read his CV, but in Turkish, to our participants with his permission. Okay? Evet. Dr. Stefano Albanese, Napoli Federico II Üniversitesi'nde doçent olarak çalışıyor şu anda. Doktorasını ve yüksek lisansını da aynı üniversitede tamamlamış. Çok sayıda yayını olan konuşmacının ilgi alanları şunlar: yersel ve bölgesel ölçekte çevresel izleme için jeokimyasal araştırma tekniklerinin geliştirilmesi, kıtasal ve bölgesel ölçekte topraktaki temel ve toksit metallerin temel ve eşik referans değerlerinin saptanması, bölgesel ölçekte ekolojik ve sağlık risklerinin nicel değerlendirmesi için işlevsel modellerin geliştirilmesi, jeokimyasal verilerin yönetimi ve bunların güvenilir bir şekilde haritalanması için istatistiksel yöntemlerin uygulanması. Kendisi şu an Journal of Geochemical Exploration'ın şef editörü. 2017 yılından bu yana da şef editörlüğünü yürütmekte. Okay, that's it. Let's start, Dr. Albanese.
Okay, I will try to share the screen.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Okay, sure. Let's see. Let me know if you can see the...
Okay, we can see it.
Okay, so thank you for having me. he is very strong. So in case you cannot hear me,
Okay, I think we have a voice problem now. Dr. Albanese, we have a voice problem.
also another. Just a second. I will change the network.
Okay.
I will use another network.
There's a connection problem, I think.
They'll solve soon. Just a second.
Okay, we're waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to change the connection because we are having problem. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Is it better? Is it better now?
Yep, better.
Okay. So let's start over.
Better,
Okay.
stable connection.
And
This is okay. I changed the connection because the land connection today is not very well, not very good because it's raining. So I used the phone connection.
okay, now.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you for inviting me. The topic I am going to speak about is a very relevant topic for us in Italy, but especially for people living in a region like it is Campania region. In the last 20 years, I was involved first as a student at the beginning, and now during my career as professor, as PhD, and so on, in several activities which were focused on environmental geochemistry and on the assessment of risk proceeding from the environment. In reality, in Campania region, we made a lot of activities in these 2 decades, and most of these activities were developed in at different scales. We made regional activities, regional-wide activities, but also very local activities to understand the behavior of contaminants in the environment, and also to contribute as citizens to improve the quality of the information, environmental information. So basically, Campania is this. Campania is in the southern part of Italy, middle southern part of Italy. We are famous around the world for our volcano, Mount Summa Vesuvius. But also Campania is important also because we produce a lot of healthy food. So as you can see from the picture on the right, I put there many different foods which are produced in our region. So if we stay on this picture, it seems that Campania is like a paradise. But the point is that in the last 20 years, many environmental issues arise. And so we as scientists, as researchers, we were called to give our contribution to make clear which is the situation, the environmental situation of our region, and especially to understand, to assess which were the real risks for the local population. So, leaving this slide, I go to another slide, which go back in time, 2004. In 2004, two researchers, two doctors, Catherine Senior and the Italian Alfredo Mazza, published a paper on Lancet, telling that in Campania, in a very small area of Campania, there is a problem with cancer incidence. The cancer incidence for some organs seems to be very high compared to the regional average and the Italian average. This area is close to the capital, to Napoli, to the capital of the regional capital, and they put this enhanced incidence of cancer in population. They connect this with the presence in the area of many waste disposal, illegal waste disposal. And they call this area in the northern part of Napoli the triangle of death, which is not so nice, not so nice name, especially if you think that in that triangle there are people living. More, in Campania, there are also other critical areas. For example, in the southern part, southern side of Napoli, we have a river which is not so huge, a small river, which is probably the most polluted river in the whole Europe. In the catchment of this river, we have two main industrial poles. One is dedicated to tanneries, so in the western part, in the eastern part of the catchment, and another area is dedicated to canneries. But the point is that a part of these industrial areas, very developed industrial areas, connected in part, the canneries are connected to the production of agriculture. The river is very, very contaminated. Especially, it's full of waste, and the situation is very, very, let's say, very, very bad for the people living in this area, because they are exposed to industrial activities, but also the quality of water in general is very bad, because also the agricultural activities are contaminating this river. There is also another situation which is more serious. In the Campania Plain, which is this area, the coastal, in the northern part of the coastal area of Campania, we have a huge number of illegal waste disposal, but also there is the custom to burn this illegal waste disposal. So this area where you see the red circle is as now the name of Land of Fire, which is not the same Land of Fire which they have in Azerbaijan, in Azerbaijan, which is a good place where they produce, where the economy is very flourishing. Here in Campania, Land of Fire means this, what you see in this picture. And at a certain point, an old man, which said he was repented from Camorra, from mafia, said that every place in the Campania Plain was full of toxic element, toxic substances, because a lot of waste were buried during the last 20 years, 20, 30 years. So what happens was that without any real data, any chemical data, the whole Italian population started to think that the Campania region was not the Campania region of good food and of volcano, of Vesuvius and so on, but Campania region was the region of the Land of Fire, of contamination, of the agricultural product which were contaminated by waste. So what happens was this, that at a certain point in 2015, 2013, as you see here, they refuse, especially in the northern part of Italy, to sell agricultural products proceeding from Campania. And also a famous brand selling tomato sauce was using this situation to promote their own agricultural product, which was produced in the northern part of Italy. So they say, only from here we use tomato. So they, let's say, use the bad situation of Campania to improve their business, which is not really a good action. But in any case, the point was that all this situation was happening without any real information about the contamination. So everybody was claiming about contamination in Campania, but no data were used to tell this. Okay, so it was just a media process, a mediatic process, no real information, no chemical information to state that the Campania was in this situation. So in the meanwhile, since 2000, around 2000, our group, which was headed by Professor Benedetto De Vivo, which is now retired, but still still active and working, we started a wide activity, a survey activity on stream sediments of the whole region. So in reality, we made a big job starting from 2000 to really understand which was the environmental situation of our region. So we sampled a huge number of stream sediments at the beginning of the from between 1998 and 2001, and after that we elaborated all this data. We are speaking about something like 4,000 stream sediment sample, and we produced the first geochemical environmental atlas of Campania region, which probably was also the first geochemical environmental atlas produced in Italy. After that, we go ahead and we also decided to focus on some urban and critical areas, and after that on the whole region. But this time we worked on soils, top soils and bottom soils. So in 2016, we published a new atlas, which was focused on soils. We are speaking about geochemical data, of course. So this was the cover of this is the cover of the first atlas we produced, and you see we produced geochemical maps for something like 40 elements, including potentially toxic elements. And this is another small atlas we produce for local areas, like this is the Napoli provincial area. And as I told you before, in 2016, we published the atlas of the soil of Campania region, also based on a huge number of samples, something like, also in this time, we are around 4,000 soil samples collected across the whole region. But always, when we were working with this data, we were focusing on geochemical pattern, we were focusing on the geochemistry, but we were not too much focusing on the relevance of this data for the assessment of the risk, environmental risks. Our approach was more an approach, more scientific, how to say, we didn't care about the relevance of this data for the citizens. We were just working on data on geochemistry. But starting from 2010, we also we started considering also the risk which could proceed from this data. We started evaluating the effect of contaminants on human health, on the health of local population, Campania population. In the meanwhile, a part of potentially toxic elements, we also produce maps, and so we also completed a survey to assess the concentration of organic pollutants in the regional soils. So we had PTs, potential toxic elements, but also we created new information regarding the distribution of contaminants such as DDTs, PCBs, PAH, and so on, and also organic pesticides, organochloride pesticides. So starting from this, we decided to develop our studies using geochemical data to assess risk for local population. Of course, we start from Paracelsus. Paracelsus used to say that everything can be a poison, and nothing exists which is not poisonous, which means that the risk for local population, for population from Campania, if there is any, depends on the exposure. And so, starting from this, we developed at the beginning some local studies or sub-regional studies to see if there is any relationship among some epidemiological problem arising in the region and geochemical data, environmental data we were collecting during our activities. So we made a lot of work and we published a lot of paper, but of course I want to show you the most important results we got during this first part of our of this talk. And so, for example, using data from hair, we also collected hair in the Sarno River basin. We found out, for example, that people, in some area of this basin, of the catchment, the people have high concentration of chromium in their hair. Why that? Because you should know that tanneries used to introduce in the environment huge quantities of chromium. So this chromium probably was transferred to to agricultural soils, and probably it was transferred to people eating product from crops. So what we saw here is that, especially in the area of Solofra here, where we have the tanneries, people are characterized by very high concentration in ppb of chromium in their hair, which means that these people living there are likely to develop health problems related with exposure to chromium proceeding from these industrial activities. Another interesting paper, which was published in 2015, was focused on the city of Napoli. And it was very interesting to see that there is a very relevant, let's say, correlation among the distribution of lead in Neapolitan soils and the incidence of lead, I mean, or high concentration of lead in Neapolitan soils, and also the high density of people developing semen problems. So people having problems with their semen quality. Of course, we are speaking about men. So as you can see by this slide, we found out there is a strong relationship, considering the huge number of the samples used, among high concentration of lead in soils and hence in the environment, and high incidence of semen quality problems, which is really, really interesting, although it is not so nice. Another interesting work we made was to state which was the environmental hazard in some places where usually we found high concentration of potentially toxic elements in soils. This picture shows you the map of Acerra. Acerra is in the middle of triangle of the DIT. And as you can see, there are some places where the hazard proceeding from the metals in soil seems to see very, very high. And in this map, I also, a part of the legend, telling that which is the degree of hazard, I also report which are the elements influencing these hazards. Another interesting work was done on, for example, on organic compounds. I said before, we work on PAH, on the OCP, organochlorine pesticides. And as you can see from these images, the whole city of Napoli is affected by serious problem due to contamination proceeding from PAH. I mean, when I spoke about PAH, I mean polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And as you can see from the pattern, the highest concentration we have in the Campania Plain, it means in the coastal area of the Campania, northern Campania, are mostly in the area of the metropolitan area of Napoli. And assessing the risk, the human health risk for the city of Napoli, we found out that for adults, for example, this risk is very high compared to the other areas of the Campania Plain, which is the whole coastal area, including the Vesuvius, which is here. So, starting from these evidences, we were involved in a huge project, which was founded by the local regional government, because it happens that the economy of the region was strongly negatively affected by all these media, all this information about the land of fire, about the agricultural land which were contaminated in Campania. So we were together with the regional government of Campania, or better, the regional government of Campania involved our research group together with other research group, in a huge project to state which was the real situation, environmental situation of our region. Because the funny, let's say funny thing was that all the information were telling that the most contaminated area of Campania region was the one between Mondragone, Castelvolturno, Aversa. While in our studies, we saw that even we started seeing that the real situation, the worst situation was not there where they were speaking about the land of fire, but the real situation from waste situation was in the city and in the area of the Sarno River basin. So there was a strange situation where media were speaking about risk for people living here, where it seems that risks are not present, sorry, and the reality, which tells the scientific reality, the scientific data, which says that the risk is here in Neapolitan areas and in the Sarno River Basin. Even studies made on the organic organochlorine pesticide says that the risk is more in the Vesuvian area, in the Sarno River area, but not where the media used to say it is here in the place, in the area where they in the area they used to call land of fire. So this was a very peculiar situation where people used to be more where the science were in the shadow and the media were the one which says the truth. So people used to believe to media instead of believing to science. So starting from this situation, I said the local government founded our studies to develop a regional-wide multi-purpose study to state which are the real situation in the whole region. So basically, first of all, we developed a potential hazard map for the whole region to see where the situation, where according to the data we already have, we collected during our research activity, and we found out that also the potential hazard map we developed says us that the situation was critical for the Napoli area and for the Sarno River Basin. We also made a new work, we developed a new study using our data, and we put our data in relationship with the regional population, and also we use a technique to put together more information regarding the physicochemical characteristics of the different environmental media. So it's like we put together, like in a, how to say, in a binder, all the ingredients to generate a map of the risk, which could include, consider the source, which was the hazard map, the pathways, the different pathways contaminant could follow to reach population, and also the condition of receptors, so the accessibility and the proximity of receptors, human beings, to the risk areas. Why we did this? We did this because the regional area is very huge. So we need to assign scores to different areas to define priorities in actions. So with this work, we developed what we called a risk score map, a risk map, where each area in Campania received a score, a risk score. But again, also after all this work, again, it came out that the risky area were the area of the metropolitan territory of Napoli, the Sarno River Basin, and this area in the northern part of the Sarno River Basin. Again, the area which was named Land of Fire, and which media were highlighting as the most contaminated area in Campania, where agricultural products were contaminated, in reality was not a risky area according to our analysis of the data. And again, we are speaking of thousands of data, not just 2-3 samples collected across the regional area. In any case, starting from the risk map we developed, we generated a new sampling plan. Okay, the new sampling plan for the new project. The new project was called Campania Trasparente Project, which the name is clear, I see. I mean, they decide, the regional government decide to call this experiment as Campania Trasparente to say, to show that Campania has nothing to hide. We are transparent. So if we say there is no contamination, we say this because we base our statement are based on real data, and in fact, to make people sure that the Campania region was not contaminated as they used to tell to people. In any case, out of the hazard map exclude this area as a contaminated and risky area. In the sampling plan, in the new sampling plan, also the area was included again to give the population even more information about the quality of the environment in this area. Campania Trasparente was an integrated plan, monitoring plan, and also together with the Campania Trasparente plan, another plan was started, which was called SPACE. SPACE was a monitoring plan which was focused on population, on human population, on human beings. So on a side, we had an environmental monitoring plan focusing on mostly on the soil, water, and air. And on the other side, we have another plan, another survey, which was focusing on the people. So basically, the plan, the whole plan. Sorry, sorry for the order of the image. So at the end, the whole plan included agricultural product, cattle breeding and farm product, environmental media, soil, water, and air, but also biological matrices, including milk, hair, semen, blood, and also some extra samples. So as you can see, all the work was quite a huge work, and in part, the work was started in 2016-17, is still ongoing for the biological part. At the moment, the situation of the sampling situation is this one. We have collected 3,400 topsoils and 500 bottom soils. This one have to be added to the other samples we already collected during the previous year. We also completed a survey of air quality based on 150 passive air samplers and 50 deposimeters. These two ones, passive air samplers and deposimeter, were exposed to the environment for more than 1 year, and samples were collected for each season. Then also waters were collected, mostly groundwaters, from 1,000 wells. And also for waters, we had chemical physical characteristics determined, and also potentially toxic element and organic compounds, as we already did for air and for soil. Also, agricultural products were collected, almost 4,000 samples, to determine multi-residuals, nitrate, chlorates, perchlorates, and of course, potentially toxic metals. Then there is the part dedicated to humans, or in any case to biology. So products of animal origin, and there is an error, were also collected, including milk. In this case, we are speaking about cow milk and other animal milk, honey, wild animals' organs, especially furs, gasteropods were collected, and also on these potentially toxic element and organic pollutants were determined. And the most interesting thing was also the biological samples collected from 4,200 healthy subjects, healthy humans, which were enrolled in three areas. One area which was the potentially high impacted area, one area which was the mid impacted areas, which normally was the agricultural areas, and one part of samples were collected from area which in our map were areas at low human impact. So all this collection of data was possible because something like hundreds of researchers were involved, and the regional government probably released something like 15 million euro to do this work. So they invest a lot of money to develop this plan. Most of the results, as the results become available, they are published on this platform, on this website, which is www.campaniatrasparente.it. In fact, I want to show you what we have now on that. So the website is this one. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, because I don't know if, okay. And if you go to these websites, all the information are open. So everybody can go, for example, aqua, which means water. If I go here, I can go to sampling points, I can click on it, and I can retrieve information if the network is fine. Okay, so as you can see, we have a picture of the sampling point, and also we have information regarding analytical data. So everything is open, everything is transparent. Why this? Because this is important to give, it is important to give this information, because also people living out of the region can go here and check the quality of water, the condition of soils, terreni stands for soil, the condition of air, and also they put information regarding animals and agricultural product. Okay, so everything is here, and especially for agricultural product, the farm which participated to this project received a sort of a special card they can show to ensure the customer that they were controlled, so that they could be controlled on the net. For example, if I go here and I click on this with the logo of tomato, so you can have information regarding the concentration of element in the agricultural product collected in this area, which is important because of the problem of the terra dei fuochi, land of fire, because now everybody can go here, click on a point, for example, and check if the quality of soils and the quality of the agricultural products is fine, is good to be used for as food. Okay, so this is the first experiment in Italy like this, and we want to export this experiment also to the other region, because this is the only way to make people sure that they are eating healthy food. So in any case, going back to our activities, as a research group, our research group was mostly working on soil and air. So due to the lack of time, I'm just giving some details on the results got from soils. Also because actually 1 month ago, we published the results we got on soil in a new geochemical atlas. And in the future, soon the data on air will be also published and elaborated. So in the future, we will be able also to speak about air. But by now, I want to show you the results we got on soils. Basically, as I said before, we collected 3,400 new topsoils and 500 bottom soils. What you can see, I forgot to translate. I apologize for this. In any case, I'm telling you what is written here. So basically, all the data were analyzed, all the sample were analyzed through different analytical methods. We determined the full concentration of the elements through aquaregia, or the quasi-total, almost total concentration of elements through aquaregia, followed by ICP mass spectrometry. But we also analyzed a subset of samples with ammonium nitrate to assess the bioavailability of elements. And also we analyze more than 800 samples to determine concentration of PAH, OCPs, and PCBs. All these data were used to generate new geochemical map of Campania region. As you can see, for topsoils, we use the actual new data together with the samples, the data from the previous samples, because the analytical methods were the same and also the sampling procedure were the same. So this allows us to join the former dataset with the new dataset. So based on these new databases, we generated maps for metals, for bioavailability, for metals in bottom soils, and for organic compounds in topsoils. These are the sampling map, and this is the structure of the activity we did. So we produce in total 241 dot maps, giving the discrete distribution of the elemental and the compound distribution in soils. Topsoils were divided in the 49 maps depicting the concentration of PT, potential toxic elements, in the determined through aquaregia. Then we produce 14 maps of the bioavailable concentration, and then 76 map of organic compounds, all in topsoils. And also for potential toxic elements in the determined through aquaregia, we determined the potential hazard maps. The same we did for organic compounds, and also the same we did for bottom soil. Also, we produce raster map, interpolated map. Interpolated map were 199. So with another huge number of maps which basically show the information we produce as discrete map in the raster format, in continuous, spatially continuous format. I will tell you briefly how we produce this map, because this is important. We generated, of course, dot maps, discrete maps of elements across the whole region using statistical analysis of the data, mostly using the classical approach based on the histogram and cumulative frequency curves. And so we determine data population of elements across the dataset looking at the cumulative curve after transformation, log transformation. As you see, this is the way we generated different intervals within the maps for each elements. We also generate, as I told you before, potential contamination distribution map, or you can call them also hazard map. How do we produce this? In Italy, there is the environmental law which set threshold value for environmental use of land. So we use the values set by the law to divide the samples according to this value. So we have three intervals. The red intervals is the intervals where soils cannot be used neither for industrial or commercial use. They are very polluted, contaminated soil. The yellow soils are the soils which are normally contaminated, let's say not usable for green area and for residential areas, and the green dots correspond to area with no contamination at all. But as you can see, this approach is not always working. For example, here you have the map of beryllium, and as you can see, beryllium, if we use the threshold set by the national law, basically almost the whole Campania region cannot be used for residential purposes, neither for industrial purposes, which means that people living in Campania should go away. That's all. We should close Campania. So it is evident that in some cases, this approach is not working fine. And this is the reason why we use a technique to state which is the real natural background for the areas, because this is important to set which is the natural contribution to contaminants proceeding from geological material. Because if we demonstrate that high concentration of elements in some areas are totally or mostly due to the geological material present in that area, we cannot, in any case, discuss about the opportunity to remediate or to declare that area contaminated. One area is contaminated, can be considered contaminated only when there is a huge contribution from anthropogenic activity, because we cannot remediate nature. If concentration value of elements depends on geogenic sources, we cannot do anything. We should decide to accept this situation, because even this situation can be hazardous. It cannot be changed. We cannot remediate nature. In any case, to generate raster maps and then to assess the background value for different area of the region, we use this multifractal interpolation. Multifractal interpolation is a method which was firstly developed around 20 years ago. And we as a group, as a research group, we are using this method since the beginning. And which is the peculiarity of this method? The peculiarity of this method is that even if it is an interpolation method, it keeps the singularity of data. So it keeps the anomalous area in the interpolation and avoid the flattening. So it is able to keep the spatial association of the samples, but also to keep what is called singularity, local singularity, which can be interpreted as an anomaly. But for environmental purposes, anomalies are relevant, such as for economic geology, because in these cases, anomalies can represent a risk, an hazard for local population. So, starting from raster map generated through multifractal interpolation, we also generated through a Fourier process, applying the Fourier transformation. We generated the background maps, which was important for example, that elements which are a relevant contribution, geogenic contribution. In fact, as you can see, for example, for beryllium map, where we have, if we go back to the contamination map, I said it is not possible that the whole region is contaminated by beryllium, but if we use, instead of the threshold established by law, the value we established through the background map, it came out that this area is not anymore contaminated, because if you look at the yellow, at the orange and the red areas, we are speaking about concentration of beryllium above 4, above 5, which means that this area, if we use this threshold instead of the low threshold, it means that this area became not contaminated anymore. Another important determination we did was bioavailability through the ammonium acetate approach, analytical approach. Ammonium acetate analytical approach is a very interesting approach, which was firstly used in Germany, and this is used mostly to see which is the potential of the potential of soil to be used as agricultural soil. And this is interesting because we found out that in many cases, even we have a big high concentration of elements, when these elements are geogenic, the percentage of concentrations which are bioavailable are very low. In fact, if you look, we are still speaking about beryllium. If you look to this area, even if the concentration of beryllium is very high, the rate of bioavailability is very low, is close to 0, which means that even if we have a huge amount of beryllium in soil, this beryllium is not able to go to the plants, which is relevant, which is important, especially if the element is a toxic element. So we also assess the bioavailability of elements. And finally, we generated a lot of map, as I told you before. For example, this is the map of lead. And as you can see, the map of lead highlights, for example, the presence of high concentration of lead in the soils of the cities, which is normal because, as you may know, lead is related with the use of leaded gasoline, which was in Italy possible until 2000, 2005. So since lead is characterized by a low mobility, all the lead which fall down to the soil is still there. But so this kind of map is very indicative of the anthropogenic pressure. But again, if you look at these patterns, again, also for the lead, which is not related with the waste disposal and other things, also for the leads, you see that lower concentration of lead are there where they speak about the land of fire. So it's very, very interesting to see this. Again, this is the map of beryllium, and we spoke already about beryllium, about concentration, natural concentration of beryllium. You see that beryllium, for example, in the city areas is characterized by very low concentration, because this confirm that beryllium is natural, even if it has high concentration in some areas. But what I want to point out is that, again, our studies, our data, our results show that, again, the highest concentration, for example, of PCB is not in the area, in the land of fire, or in the area where the media and used to say that the soil were very contaminated. But also PCBs are mostly concentrated in the city of Napoli, in the provincial area of Napoli, and in the catchment basin of the Sarno River. So again, our research point out that everybody is focusing on an area while the problem is in another area. Again, you see the results for PAH. Also, PAH are mostly concentrated in the urban areas, not in the Campania Plain, northern sector of Campania Plain. Again, for the same for pesticides, you see that most of the pesticides are highly concentrated in the agricultural area of the Sarno River Basin and the Napoli metropolitan area, but very few areas are characterized by highest concentration of pesticide in the northern sector of Campania Plain. Again, you see how we generated the map of the potential contamination distribution. When we speak about zinc, when we speak about organochlorine pesticide, it seems that this application of the threshold of environmental low threshold works fine. In fact, for zinc, for example, which is an anthropogenic, mostly anthropogenic elements, you saw that zinc the contamination of zinc is evident in the cities areas due to the release from car brakes, because car brakes used to release dust rich in zinc. And the same happened for organochlorine pesticides. As you can see, organochlorine pesticide show hazardous concentration, show contamination in the area, in the agricultural area of the metropolitan area of Napoli and Sarno River Basin. But again, you see that this is not true for beryllium. As we saw before, beryllium is this threshold, national low threshold, are not working. And in fact, we now put together, for example, the map of background baseline value for beryllium, and it came out that concentration in this area, the natural concentration of beryllium is above 4.9, which means that this area became not contaminated if we use this threshold. So we made this work for almost all the PT elements. For some elements, the calculation of the threshold was very important because, for example, beryllium, tin, and other elements related with the volcanic nature of the soils are characterized by very high background natural concentration. So the national threshold cannot be applied Otherwise, we are declaring areas which are not contaminated as contaminated area, even area where agricultural activity are present and where bioavailability of potentially toxic elements are low because they are geogenic. So this is important. This was a very important result, and we are now producing a huge number of papers to show to the scientific community how important was this activity, which put together more information, more activities. This is, for example, the map of the bioavailability for zinc and for arsenic. And as you can see, the map of bioavailability of zinc is a little bit different from, for example, from the map generated for beryllium or for arsenic. Why? Because zinc, as I said before, is mostly anthropogenic. And in fact, in all the urban area of the region, zinc show an high, the highest value of bioavailability compared to the other area. While, for example, if you take arsenic, arsenic is not so, let's say, bioavailable. The highest value of bioavailability of arsenic is 2, the highest rate of bioavailability, which means that even where the map show the red color, we are speaking about very low concentration of bioavailable concentration of arsenic. Why? Because arsenic, together with beryllium and tin, are one of that elements which are mostly related to volcanic soil, volcanic nature of soils. So actually, all these results I showed to you have been published in this volume, the first volume of 3 volumes. In this volume, we published all the map related to soil. In the next volume, we will publish the maps for organic compounds in soil. And in the third volume, we will publish the result from the air survey. And for the lack of time, I didn't speak about air because otherwise I should have given to you too much information, and also I should have spoken for hours. So I prefer just to focus, as I said before, on soil. In any case, if you are interested in this book to have a look, this is the link to reach the page of the book. Very few more slides. We are using all the information, geochemical information, also for other purposes. For example, we are now working in using data for uranium, thorium, and potassium in soil to generate radon flux map. Because actually in Campania, another relevant issue, is to assess the risk for radon. Since we are a volcanic region, the concentration of radon in the dwelling often is very high, especially because most of the dwelling, especially old houses, have been built using geological material such as tuff. And in fact, we are trying now to assess which is the risk proceeding from the soils to the people, and we are using geochemical data also for these purposes. And this is the first map we produce. Actually, we are changing this map because we are doing more elaboration. But this is the first map which tell us also give us good information about the area where we can speak about radon risk for human health. More work we are doing is on big data and machine learning, because all this data we are accumulating in years can be used to generate linear models, but also they can be used to assess environmental issue through machine learning approach. So thank you. I hope that although if I was, let's say, running, because a lot of things, I could give you a good view of all the most important activity we are completing in Campania during the last year. Thank you.
Okay, we thank you to Stefano.
Grazie, Albanese.
Lots of collected samples, lots of analytical work, many maps. Congratulations, it's very big work. And this is a big project, and so many data to deal with. Okay, any questions about this talk? Please raise hands, and could you please close the slides? Maybe it's better to see everyone.
Okay,
to raising hands.
In fact, I was now putting.
Okay, now the question.
Sorusu olanlar lütfen el kaldırarak.
Okay.
Cüneyt Hocam, Gökhan Atıcı Bey var.
Okay. Buyurun Gökhan Hocam. Ben göremiyorum. Atakan, sen gördüğün yerde beni uyar canım. Buyurun.
Stefano, grazie mille for this big presentations, and I'm very pleased to see Campanian works, because I had the chance to work Osservatorio Vesuviano for 3 months as a volcanologist for monitoring Vesuviano and Campiflegrei volcano. Just I wonder that the Pozzuoli area and the Solfatara, we know that we have a fumarole activity around Solfatara more than 150 Celsius degree.
Evet, çayımı ve telefonumu verir misin?
Also Pozzuoli area, and I remember that when I was in Pozzuoli city center, the H2S is obvious to smell. What can you say about the air pollution around the Pozzuoli area and also to Campiflegrei volcano, Solfatara area? And I wonder that also that is there any data for Campania and ignimbrite, which is related to zeolite group minerals associated with this kind of pollutions? And thank you very much, and grazie mille again.
Okay, too many different questions. I mean, one question, many questions. First of all, environmental problems. Pozzuoli area, Campiflegrei area, which is the area on the western part of Napoli, is not that contaminated, because fortunately the population density is not very high. However, they are close to the city, so often they receive polluted air mass volume from the city. So in any case, they are within the metropolitan area. Regarding the most important thing in this area, in this period, we have 2 activities. One activity is dedicated to radon, as I told you before, because radon in this area is very important, because they are an active area. So we are monitoring the flux of radon directly, the flux of radon from soil, to see if there is any relationship with the actual situation of the volcano and of the Campiflegrei volcanic area, and the change in the radon flux. Regarding the ignimbrites and the situation, the actual situation of Campiflegrei in terms of thermodynamics and so on, we have to say that there are a lot of discussion. I could suggest, I can send you a link to a webinar we had my colleague Anna Maria Lima had 2 weeks ago. In this webinar, she made an overview of all the actual science on the Campiflegrei volcano, and probably it is very interesting which is the situation actually, the actual situation of Campbell-Flegrei, and which are the theory on the actual condition of the area. Because actually, as you may know, Campbell-Flegrei and Pozzuoli especially is rising. The surface of Pozzuoli is rising up, so is increasing. So there are different theories why this situation is happening. And in this webinar from Ana Maria Lima, probably you can have much more information that I can give you, because I'm mostly focusing on the environmental issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Erol Bey söz istiyor.
Mr. Erol sir raised hand.
Okay. Buyurun Erol Bey.
Cüneyt Hocam, thank you very much, Stefano, for your good presentations. I learned many things from your presentations. I also, thanks to Geological Chapter and the other MTA organized this speech. Yes, Stefano, you have many data from the soil generally, the upper and the bottom of the soil.
Yeah.
I want to learn, you analyzed upper part of the soil,
Yeah.
30 centimeters, with one samples, or you slide each of the 30 centimeters.
No, this is a bulk sample. So we,
Bulk samples.
yeah, so it's the mixed, it's a mixed samples, which include the first 30 centimeters. Okay.
Maybe this may some deletions problems, because you know that the upper part of the soil generally polluted much than the lower part.
Yeah.
So you generally said that the pollutions come from the anthropogenic generally,
Yeah.
Geological sources. But I am a marine geologist. We generally we use some anthropogenical activities using coarse sediments in the marine environment. You have two different gulf on the northern and the southern part of the area. One of the, I think, Napoli, and the other is the Sarononi. You have any coarse samples to explain
Core samples.
pollution?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. No, I have
To explain pollution history of the area.
Well, we made some work on the sea sediments, but because we did not collect directly core sediments.
Yeah.
Okay, but we are working with the research center, Marine Research Center, which is in Napoli, and they have cores. And in the past, we tried to do some work with them. But 3 years ago, I was speaking with them to receive slice of this course, because I was interested in the analyzing different depth to see how contamination change in time. But I'm still waiting for these samples. Well, in the meanwhile, we are working in Shanghai, because I have a strong connection with Tongji University in Shanghai, and there we are doing this kind of job. They have 1 centimeter slice over a core of 2 meters, 3 meters. And so in that case, with my PhD student, which is working in Shanghai, we are trying to do this. And I would like to do the same in Napoli. But at the moment, and my colleague in Shanghai, which have a lot of money, so he could make analysis as much I want. He was waiting for this core, but in Napoli, they are very slow. So we are still waiting for these samples.
Yeah, you explained some of the people here contains much from and this from the anthropogenic pollution, I think. Maybe they use the seafoods and drinking water
So yeah,
another sources of the pollutions, I think.
At the moment, the only tool we have to assess the the anthropogenic source is to collect bottom soil samples, which are normally not contaminated by anthropogenic fallout. The other option is also to use isotopic signature. We use some isotopes, lead isotopes, for example, in the past in Napoli, to see if the lead, how much the lead in the Napoli soil, which are volcanic soil, depends on volcanic natural soils, and how much the lead in soils depends on the anthropogenic input. And we found out that the anthropogenic input is quite important for the urban areas, even when the soil are volcanic. So we use isotopes, but unfortunately, we did not have any information regarding cores, although it would be very interesting, especially, for example, in the Sarno River basin. If we had the core at the mouth of the Sarno River, it would be very interesting to see how in the last century the contamination situation changed. But at the moment, I was not able to get these samples.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome.
You are welcome.
Thank you. Any more questions? I will ask. And okay, Hüseyin Başkan, buyurun. I can ask later.
Hocam yalnız sen çeviri yapacaksın.
Buyurun.
Öncelikle Bay Stefano'ya çok teşekkür ediyorum.
He is saying thanks to you. Okay.
Bir de tabii bütün verilerini çok şeffaf bir şekilde toplumun her kesimine açtıklarını ifade ettiler. Bizler de en azından oraya girip o sayfalardan bu verileri indirip inceleme şansımız olacağı için de teşekkür ediyoruz.
He said, okay. He said all the data is transparent to everyone, and he said we can also looking at this data set, and we can use this data set.
Okay.
Ben İtalya'da kaç bölgede böyle çevresel jeokimya haritalarının hazırlandığını merak ettim. Yani sadece Kampanya bölgesinde mi yoksa diğer bölgelerde de bu çalışma yürütülmüş mü? Yanlış anlamadıysam bu projenin bedeli 16 milyon euro mu söyledi diye de not ettim ama yanlış anlamış olabilirim.
He is wondering in Italy how many regions such as work proceed. Only in Campania region.
Only Campania, yes, because as I said at the beginning, I had a crazy man who was pushing, which is Professor De Vivo, who started on this topic 20 years ago. So he's crazy, positively crazy, good crazy. And so actually in Campania we have this huge amount of data.
No geochemical data in other parts of Italy?
There's a small area where some colleagues made some small surveys, but like that probably there are some good some survey in Emilia Romagna, but not not details like in Campania. Campania is the only region in Italy which has been covered by such kind of survey, detailed survey.
The budget of the project is
the budget was
16 million euros, or
no, it was 15
million euros.
But including also the biological survey.
Including the biological and soil and water and air.
For soil, we spend not too much. We spend less than 1 million euro.
Okay, I asked estimating the threshold values in some elements. why didn't you use in the hard rocks in geological formations?
Because the situation in Campania is very peculiar, because the soils are not generated by rocks, but the soil are volcanic soils. So if you want to state the background using the background rocks, you will find limestones, which are not.
Okay. Well, we haven't seen any geological maps of the Campanian.
So basically in Campania, we have we have all limestones, and limestones covered by
Volcanic
pyroclastic materials. So basically, you cannot use rock materials to state the background. Otherwise, the situation would become even worse, because basically, if you state which is the concentration of lead or beryllium in the rock,
in the limestone is almost nothing. Yeah,
we have to close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any question?
There's Mr. Ali Yılmaz raise hand.
Ali Hocam buyurun lütfen.
Ali Hocam sesinizi açabilir misiniz?
The microphone is...
Mikrofonu.
Açtım. Thank you for your useful talk.
Thank you.
And I'd like to ask a question about transportation of food and also water from region to region. In these cases, is it difficult to show a direct relationship between human health and the region together?
Well, the direct relationship cannot, given that we are in a global world, you cannot locally state which is the relationship among the food and the people, because people used to eat also products which proceed from other regions. This is right. But the problem is that nobody, in that case, nobody was eating food proceeding from Campania. So the people was looking at the labels of the agricultural products, and they do not eat agricultural food from Campania, because they were convinced that everything was full of toxic contaminants.
This situation has changed since 2015.
The situation has changed because we are now publishing all this material, and also because actually a regional government is sharing with the media the new information. So at this point, we have some in trend, because even if you go to the northern region, many people are convinced that food from Campania is contaminated. So this was a very, this is an issue. Probably someone should write a book about the power of media to make good things, but also to make bad things. They destroyed for 2-3 years the local agricultural economy, because nobody was consuming food from Campania.
Thank you.
You produced risk maps, and what happened to farmers in the risky regions? And they produce, still they are producing.
Well, risky. Our risky map, as I said, is mostly a score map, a map where to make further analysis. I mean, since the Campania region is very wide, that map was used to improve the quality of the data. So in that case, we use that map to make more analysis, more sampling, to be sure that the product of people of this agricultural product was fine. In fact, also in the risky area, most of the agricultural products were fine. And all these people got this card they put this card on their, this label on their products, which says that the product is safe and that we have analyzed the product and the product is healthy. So this was the risky map we produce was not a real risky map, it's a risky score map to have an idea to where to go and make more analysis.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
Is
Hocam,
the
yoksa bir
aroma
soru
and the
daha-
quality of the wine due to soil, Albanese?
Sorry?
Is the aroma and the quality of the wine due to soil?
Yeah. In Campania, the quality of the wine is very high because of the soils. We
Buyurun
have a
başkanım, bir
lot
şey
of
söyledim.
potassium.
Oh,
Hocam bu haritalarda bazı sınır değerleri vardı. Yani aralıklar veriliyor. Bunların seçimini neye göre yapmışlar?
You have some ranges in your maps.
Yeah.
Which
Which kind of...
how to choose the ranges? How to select it?
Okay, but you are depending on the map. For of course, regarding the, for example, multifractal, the interpolated map, we use a SIA plot, concentration area plot, which means that we put concentrations in the pixel of the map against the area they covered, and according to this, we can depict a curve where you have inflection point on the curve. It means that a new population, different population of data can be individuated. So we individuate through this technique, we can see more population, and we divide this population in map, which means that different population is related to different process in soils or different contamination process. This was the approach, which is similar also for the dot maps, for discrete map. In that case, we use cumulative curve map. And also in that case, we look for inflection points, which means that the characteristics of the data is changing. When you have an inflection point, it means that a new subpopulation is possible to be located. So we use these inflection points to divide data on the map. Okay, so this is different approach to divide the intervals.
Okay. No question? Atakan, var mı soru?
there is no question now.
Okay, Stefano.
Okay.
We thank to you so much, and you contribute to us your work, and we glad to listen to you.
Okay. In any case, I will send to Nurey the PowerPoint. I want to change the Italian. There are that slide with Italian. I will change in English, and then I will send it to you. And also, I want to say that you are welcome in any moment. If you want to know something, if you want some publication, just write me an email, and I will send you back the publication, and all the paper. But also, if you want to make some questions, we can stay in contact. So on my side, of course, if some of you want to consider to publish in my journal, welcome. And
Geochemical exploration, journal of geochemical exploration. Okay.
Yeah. And for the rest, I'm very glad to have spent some time with you this evening, although it would be great to meet you in person, of course. But as you said before, we have to wait 1-2 years more. Then after that, we can plan. But in any case, it was a pleasure to give this talk to you and also to receive your questions, because when you have questions, it means that I was generating interest in you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Very much.
Var mı
Thank
son
you,
söz
Stefano.
söylemek isteyenler?
Nuray
Son
Hanım.
söz söylemek isteyenler buyurun Nuray Hanım.
I would like to thank you, Stefano, for giving this nice presentation. It was very informative. As you know, I am not a geochemist, but I am very happy to listen to you. Thank you again.
Thank you to you and to everybody who was attending the webinar.
Okay. Thanks. And ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Grazie and
Ciao.
ciao.
Çok teşekkürler hepinize. Sema, görüştüğümüze sevindim. Cüneyt Hocam çok teşekkürler.
Ben de
İyi ki
Biz
hocam.
varsınız.
teşekkür ederiz Hülya Hanım.
Çok
İyi
sağ olun hocam.
akşamlar. İyi akşamlar.
akşamlar.
İyi akşamlar hocam.
herkese.
İzmir'e iyi
Hocam,
akşamlar. İyi
teşekkür ederiz.
akşamlar. İstanbul'a
İyi akşamlar.
Erol Hocam.
Yüksel
İyi
Hanım iyi
akşamlar.
akşamlar.
Yüksel Hocam
Yüksel Hanım.
neredesiniz?
Yüksel Hocam ayrıldı galiba.
Yüksel Hocam ayrıldı.
Evet. Herkese iyi akşamlar. Çok
Herkese
güzel bir
iyi
İyi
webinar oldu.
akşamlar.
Akşamlar.
Çok teşekkürler.
İyi akşamlar.
İyi
İyi akşamlar hocam. Ağzınıza sağlık sizin de moderatörünüz için.
Evet.
Sağ ol Cahit Hocam. Size de çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Sayenizde bu arkadaşla iletişim kurduk. Nuray Hanım ve sizin sayenizde.
Evet.
Teşekkür ediyoruz.
İnşallah devamı gelir. Yani bunlar tabii çalışmaya da açık insanlar. Fikir alışverişi.
İnşallah. Evet.
Evet, çok değerli
Hatta-
çalışmaları var. Türkiye'de bu konular eksik. Ve bu alanda MTA'da da boşluk var. Bilmiyorum bu şeyler nasıl organize olacak çalışmalar.
Bu çalışmalar güzel yapılır da bu çalışmaların işte arkasında bir mali desteğin olması lazım. Mali destek olmayınca bu çalışmaları yürütmek oldukça zor.
Evet.
Kesinlikle.
Tabii bir de şey konusu var. Yani bu çalışmaları yaptığımız zaman acaba biz sonuçları deklare edebilir miyiz? Public, yani herkese açılabilir mi sonuçlar acaba?
Şimdi öyle bir sıkıntı var. Ben size bir örnek vereyim. Burada bir arkadaşımız fındık üzerinde çalışmalar yaptı. Fındık içerisindeki iz elementlerle ilgili, bu kirleticilerle ilgili.
Evet.
Özellikle de kurşun fındık içerisindeki. Bu yol boyu özellikle araba yollarının
Hı hı.
geçmiş olduğu yerlerde bayağı bir şey var. Fındıklar kirletilmiş. Bunları yayınlayamadılar.